Greetings, everyone. I trust you are all on board in the journey of enhancing life skills with me. However, I'd like to ensure that each one of you has the ticket for this ride on my Life Skills Express. Traveling without a ticket is not a favorable option. So please subscribe to my channel and take the ticket of my Life Skills Express. Before we start, let me give you a brief background of myself, as I'll be sharing the learnings from my professional background as well in this journey. Dear friends, my name is Charu Diwan. You can call me Sumati. I am a software engineer who will be sharing my 15 years of learnings from renowned multinationals like Ethos, IBM, Accenture, Fidelity Investments, and Synchron. I am a proud parent of 2 sons, one in teens and other one 9 years old. To balance my personal and professional life, I shifted from IT to life skills coaching, in which I am here now from last few years. Now, time to start driving this train by embarking towards our first inaugural stop, which revolves around persuasive communication skills. Friends, I'm sure you all must have experienced this feeling of, I wish she listened to me, I wish he agreed to me, I wish they acted on my advice. But friends, if people don't listen to you consistently, then you might want to check on yourself for right persuasion skills, which we will tap into today. But let us first understand what is persuasion. Friends, any communication involves a speaker, one or more listeners, and the message. Now, persuasion is an art of communication in which the speaker's message has the power to change listeners' attitude, belief, or behavior, and even his consent on a particular thing. Now, let's see, where is it needed? Please take a note that this art of communication is applicable where people do not follow or agree with you. If people already listen to you when needed, you are already demonstrating good persuasion skills. The art of persuasion is a versatile skill. It finds its relevance across all aspects of life. From children trying to persuade their parents for a desired item, to parents seeking to convince their children on certain matters. Within our professional interactions, colleagues aim to persuade one another. Partners engage in persuasion for personal matters, and even educators use it to motivate their students to study and complete tasks. Ultimately, its value spans far and wide, benefiting everyone. But friends, mind you, persuasion is not forcing or threatening or compelling someone to do something you want them to do. That's coercion, not persuasion. Persuasion involves presenting your points confidently while utilizing effective persuasion techniques, which we will shortly explore. In persuasion, you grant your listeners the freedom to make their own choice, allowing them to independently arrive at the decision you desire. Now let us drill down to the persuasion techniques, the roots of which date back 2500 years to Aristotle. He laid the foundation for persuasive communication by introducing the concept of the 4 pillars of persuasion, which are ethos, pathos, logos, and kairos. Let us see each of them in detail. Ethos. Ethos signifies the capacity to build trust and credibility for your listeners. This trust hinges on 2 pillars. First is the faith in you as an individual, and second is the belief in the content you are presenting or the message you are giving. Let's begin by exploring the first aspect, trust in you as a speaker. If, for any reason, the listeners lack trust in the speaker, it becomes important to cultivate that trust first. If you get a hint that the target audience or the listeners do not trust you, pack your bags of lines you have in your mind and keep them aside. There's no use delivering them. Now the question arises, how can one develop this trust? The answer lies in 3 aspects. Firstly, keep your words and stick to the fulfillment of your promises and commitments without fail, except for some unavoidable circumstances. Secondly, people tend to listen to those whom they genuinely respect. Be a person of values. Your impression in the eyes of your listeners matter. These days, parents often complain that the teenagers and kids don't listen to them. My dear friends, kids observe you keenly, how you are as a person, how you deal with others, what is your lifestyle. If they think high of you, there are higher chances of listening to you. The next point is, try to set an example by refraining from actions which you discourage others from, and practicing behaviors yourself which you encourage in them. This is a very important aspect for leaders in any organization and parents while dealing with their kids. I'll give you a personal life example here. When I commenced my career with Infosys Technologies in Bangalore, I had heard that Mr. Narayan Murthy was a remarkably humble man, and we, as employees, held genuine respect for him. Similar to everyone else, he would patiently stand in line at the canteen for lunch. One day, while having lunch with my friends, they dared me to approach Mr. Narayan Murthy. I instantly accepted the challenge and approached him, saying, "Good afternoon, sir. I have a question for you." He humbly replied, "Please go ahead." I asked, "Sir, what is the most crucial thing one should always remember in any aspect of life?" He promptly responded, "Values. One must always remember his values in any sphere of life." His answer deeply moved me. You know why? Because his answer was backed up by we seeing him practicing those things daily in front of our eyes. Friends, to earn your listeners' trust and respect so that they listen to you, you must consistently keep your promises, be a person of high values, and practice yourself what you teach others. Our revered figures such as Lord Rama, Lord Krishna, they possessed the capability to perform everything in the blink of an eye. Still, they themselves walked on the law of karma, what they taught others, even if they had to embrace tough lives for that. Ethos guides us in acquiring that essential credibility. Friends, trust is not an instantaneous achievement. It takes time to foster. You need to keep patience in this process and remain positive. Once you successfully earn the trust of your audience, the focus now shifts to ensuring that the content of your message holds credibility. To illustrate this, imagine you are attempting to persuade your partner to purchase a dress due to a sale event in a particular store. In this scenario, your partner's consideration would likely revolve around the credibility of the brand you are endorsing. If the brand is reputable and genuine, your partner is more inclined to agree with you. This highlights the importance of the message's credibility, complementing the trust established between you and your partner. Now, the trust on you and your content is established. Do you think the listeners would now agree to you? Probably yes, but sometimes no. That's where the rest of the Aristotle approaches come into play. Let's explore the second pillar of persuasion technique, which is pathos. Friends, pathos means the ability to appeal to the emotion of your listeners. It's a very important aspect. Once you have the trust of your audience or listeners, you must be able to connect to them emotionally. Now, how do we connect to human beings? We know how to connect to devices, Wi-Fi, radios, but how to connect to human beings? Friends, just like we need to set our own system's frequency to tune into a radio channel, it is we who need to set our frequency up to our listeners' frequency. There are various ways to connect to them. Let us see each of them. The first one, and my personal favorite, is love and respect. Friends, a loving and respectful tone is the key to any type of communication. Give respect to anyone you are talking to, be it your kids, be it your house helpers, be it your colleagues, any worker, be it your senior, your junior. In the example of Mr. Narayan Murthy, I would also like to focus on one more point which moved me. It was how he made me feel equal to him in that little conversation. That's why, even after 22 years, I remember that conversation with him. Friends, imprint this word respect in bold letters in your minds and then initiate your conversation with anyone. I would specifically like to highlight a common mistake which all of us do, and we need to make a deliberate, strong attempt to overcome it, which is we often use a respectful tone in our formal circles, but forget to use respect with the ones whom we deal daily, our close family members, our partners, our kids. We often take them for granted. Paramhansa Yogananda, a revered saint from India, used to preach, "Don't be a street's angel and a house devil. Treat your family members and the ones you stay with closely with respect." The second and most important point to connect to someone emotionally is using sensitivity and empathy. One must be open to listen to their listener's side, their needs, their concerns if any. When you're listening to their sides, totally forget about your own story. People love to talk about their own autobiographies all the time. Remember, listeners don't connect well with such people. You may talk about yourself, but not when you're trying to connect to your listeners. It is time to understand their feelings and emotions. Once your listeners feel that you understand them and have a sincere intent in what you are asking from them, you enter into their comfort zone and the connection gets established. Invoking a feeling in the listener that their concerns, needs, and feelings are being respected, and you are able to feel what they are feeling, generates a genuine interest in them to listen to you. Thirdly, throughout your conversation, try to maintain a neutral tone, which we sometimes lose track of as we start listening to their needs and concerns, which might sometimes be provocating. But do not react. We are all different individuals. Their opinions, their needs, concerns are bound to be different. Respect this difference. Friends, throughout our communication, our listeners should never sense any imposition, even if they decide to embrace your proposal. Another facet of effectively connecting emotionally with someone is the reciprocity principle. By extending a gesture of goodwill, you tap into basic human psychology. People tend to reciprocate when they feel obliged. For this, one must also keep in mind that neither side is always in a giving mode. You need to strike a balance and judge that people are not taking advantage of your goodwill. The only exception being the devotional services, where one should never think of getting anything in return. Furthermore, building an emotional connection involves actions that resonate deeply with individuals. Analyze your listeners deeply and talk about their interests more so that they are able to bond better with you. So this was Pathos, where we saw the different ways of connecting to our listeners emotionally, which brings us to the third pillar of persuasion technique, which is logos. Now let us see what is logos. Logos is needed for selective kind of audience. It may not be needed for very intimate or close relations, but you can always use it as per the nature of your target listener. It involves giving some facts and figures to support your argument. For example, in YouTube only, suppose you want to convince someone to watch someone's video. You can support your argument telling that the video has crossed 10 million views. So such kind of facts and figures or supporting your arguments with some data is taken care in logos. The last pillar of persuasion is kairos. Friends, kairos means to consider the right time and right place of starting the conversation. It goes without explanation that if you have all ethos, pathos and logos, but you start talking to someone when they are extremely busy, it all goes in the recycle bin. So it's really important to consider the right time and right place to talk. There are people in my known circle who speak very well, they have very good convincing skills, but they just lack the understanding of when to talk. Friends, sometimes we get so excited to share what we have inside that we can't wait for the right time. Patience is needed. Patience gets our work done much effectively. So wait for the right time and right place for persuading someone. So these were the main 4 pillars of persuasion techniques which you can use in your daily lives or giving some convincing speeches for an important cause. Friends, ethos, one can say, is the eligibility criteria to start a discussion. If you don't have ethos, that is the trust of your listeners with you, all pathos, logos and kairos stand null and void. And believe me, you are on mute for your listeners. So how do you feel now knowing about these persuasion techniques? You would be happy that you would now be able to persuade people for the right thing. Friends, but there are some people with whom the direct persuasion techniques also might not work. Some people have a different mindset. Sometimes reverse psychology works with them, or putting people in bull's horn, which means giving such options that whatever they choose will be in your favor only. So you are the best judge of whom you are talking to or your target audience. Finally, if all techniques of persuasion fail, there is a powerful method which just needs heartfelt yearning and faith, directed towards the higher power you believe in. Friends, if everything fails, give the prayer persuasion technique a try. This takes care of all the exceptional cases from the above explained persuasion techniques. So with this, we have arrived at our first destination, the persuasive communication skills. Subscribe to my channel for more such destinations. Thanks for watching.